Islam, or did we make it liberal?
You can make it. You can make Christianity, and you can make any religion as orthodox or as conservative or as liberal as you want it to be. It's how the individual person reads the book.
That's true. Because like I ain't gonna lie, dog. I listen to the Quran, and I like when I always tell people like I listen to both the Bible and the Quran, and I
Yeah.
see where people pick up their extreme views, but it did not say that. I see
Right.
where these guys get their extreme views, but I'm like, whoa, it did not say that. They did not mean that. Like, where is this coming from? So
Yeah, like no, one of the comments just said no country can play God or save people. Simple as that. Yeah, you can't.
mhm.
And to think that you can makes you a false prophet. Makes you, going against Christian values. Like it if you think you're God, if you're going to be struck down.
Exactly. And I mean, hey, shout out Cash. You said liberal in ideal and conservative by practice.
Yep.
I mean, true. That's true. Well, I definitely want more freedom, more liberties in ideal, because Islam, that shit is law.
Figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said,
"Oh, hey, my man. Oh, yeah, bro. Just go into the main page, hit the post tab, and hit the link. You can come right up." He's like, "Let me in here." He's like, he's ready. I was wondering where you went off to, actually.
I'm about to get torn apart because I saw him in there all over there. It's like, no, you're wrong. I'm waiting for this.
Yeah, me too, man. He said about drops of knowledge on us. I cannot wait.
it was bad.
They're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that,
carrying out military strikes
today. Post tab. My bad. Go to the main page and go to my post tab, and you'll see the link. That'll bring you right here.
Hey,
you said Israel was
right with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting
this is
Israel.
High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Hey, we are not bombing them.
Oh, okay.
Israel is bombing them. And hey, why do you do the snide? Oh, okay.
What do you mean? Because this is super high stakes stuff. This is a huge country that borders a lot of other important.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. Getting frustrated with him. He's like, "Dog, you been giving me a hard time for like an hour and 32 minutes in this conversation." Like, bro.
But I want you to see how. I mean, I'm sure you see it yourself, but I want to point out how conservatives argue with each other. They don't. They're not. They're touching on the name calling a little bit, but they both completely respect each other and are having an adult conversation, not starting a riot. Just saying.
I mean, true. Starting a riot. All right, now. All right, I missed that part. And shout out my man Dr. Luke. He says Christianity is passive until the king comes back. Oh, all right.
Ooh, that's I like that.
All right, man. Shout out. I like to have a respect for both religions and I kind of understand the whole fear mongering they did on Christianity the first time. Well, not Christian, but Islam the first time, like in 9/11, how everybody was scared of Muslims and all that good stuff. I was like, I seen that and I seen what they did with that fear mongering. I was like, okay, yeah, never again. It's like, yeah, y'all won't just get me to straight hate a religion out of nowhere ever again.
Important countries all over the world. Energy comes from there.
So let me ask you,
don't want another disaster. You don't want to be reckless.
The Ayatollah refers to Israel as the little Satan and America as the great Satan. Do you believe him when he says it's the great Satan? Do you think if the Ayatollah could murder both of us right now that he would?
Hey, Seth.
I do. I believe.
Hey, can you explain to our guy, because he's having difficulties, and I
got you.
And I really want to hear what he has to say.
I know, me too. I got you, big dog. Let me just go ahead and pull up my page real quick. All right, let me go ahead and show you guys how to get into the call in. All right, now this is the main page here. You just go to the main page and you go here to post, which is between playlists and membership. Post tab right here. You click on the post tab and you'll be able to hit this call-in link that I posted about 2 hours ago. Yep, the one that says 2 hours ago right here, guys.
I noticed the easiest way to get it, if you're on a phone, the easiest way to get on it is to click S.E.T's profile picture up in the top left, and that'll bring it to the page, and then you can see all those tabs he's talking about.
Perfect. Even better. Because I wish I was able to put it in the chat, but the way
Right
this
in the
live
chat,
is
so you
set
click
up,
into it.
yeah, but the way the chat's set up, it doesn't allow it. But all right, though, let's get right back to our man Tucker Carlson. Now, hopefully that was a good enough. Well, oh, never mind. Perfect. He found it. Perfect. Hey, Frank, man, how you doing?
I'm doing good. What's up, man?
Man, it's all good, brother. It's all good. All right, man.
So
I'm itching to hear it.
Where do I start? So when you were talking about Iran and how they hate America, and there's a reason behind it, and what it boils down to is there's two sides. One wanted to have a democratic way of life. The other wanted to live in Sharia law and Islam and follow the Quran as they interpreted it to be. Like when the revolution happened, women had rights. They could go to school. They didn't have to wear the what are they called? I don't remember what they're called.
True, in the 70s, right? Yeah,
right.
The 70s.
So they didn't have to do all these things, and like there was little girls could go to school, and then when the revolution happened, that all ended, and immediately when that started, they immediately pushed for America to get out. And I'm trying to like kind of consolidate everything in right now, and then when they started making their moves out to the Western world to show that they were a power, it was when they started doing the airline bombings, the Ireland air bombing or airplane crash, the terrorist attack or terrorist takeover in Germany. Like they were spreading very, very rapidly. And that was also when they took the hostages, was the early 80s. So you had all this going on at once. Well, in that time, you got to remember all this, the Western democratic things were gone. So you had all these people being born into that country and that life who were literally taught from the day they're born to hate America. There's literally 3 generations of Iranians in Iran that literally want to kill every American, every Jew, all of them, because that's what they've been told. That's what they've been taught. Now, I can't get to the specifics of why they want to, drown out, democracy and all that, because I don't have it all in front of me, but I know it has to do with that they feel that we're intruding on their way of life by the oil, in the democratic process, because they see it as the what is it, the caliphate, the supreme leader. Like that is who you listen to. That is who is coming to tell you how you should live, not a politician or something of that nature. The Quran is God. The Quran is everything, and there is no democracy in Islam. You know what I mean? It's like this guy tells you what you're supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to do. So that's why the supreme leader says, "Go kill Americans." You're going to go kill Americans. That's just how it is. Yep. Now, the nuclear thing that's going on, it isn't just about us saying they have a nuke, we have to destroy it. The problem is that if they have a nuke and they are capable, they can disrupt the whole world, like the gas, the oil, all that. No, like they could literally wipe out Saudi Arabia, and then all that oil is gone. Who gets it? They destabilize the Middle East. That is why we protect Israel so vehemently, is because if Israel wasn't there, it would be a war zone for the next 100 years. Like people don't understand the Palestinians.
I can't agree with that one. I don't know.
My question
no, you got to understand that.
I'll let you cook on that one. Go ahead.
The Palestinians were warring tribes. They weren't against Israel. They were fighting amongst each other. Then when Israel came in, they banded together and they went after Israel because they said that they were taking their land and all this. But literally, Palestinians were multiple tribes and they warred amongst themselves. That's the other thing is like, this isn't just a you took my land thing. This is like an extermination of the people. And I heard this the other day is that if Palestine and Hamas laid down their weapons right now, the war would stop. They'd
That's a
be
lie.
complete surrender. That is a truth. I promise you. If
All right.
Hamas surrendered, gave up all their weapons, Israel would stop shooting everyone.
Oh
and
yeah, if
bombs would
they
stop
turn
dropping.
themselves into Israeli torture camps, then yeah, maybe.
But what this is the thing. Now, if Israel laid down their weapons and said we surrendered Hamas, they'd kill them, all of them. That is literally their goal. Like, I don't understand where people just like, it's kind of like 9/11. Like, on October 7th, they came into their country and slaughtered people. Like, just on a.
Do you believe that? Do you believe that was unprovoked?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Israel has never attacked Palestine unprovoked.
That's
It's always been in
not so.
retaliation.
Oh my god.
Hold on. That is not true. That is that.
Tell me then.
Israel as a state has not done that, but Zionist terrorists. That's how they affected the regime before Israel got its foothold.
You're splitting the hair, though. You're saying Israeli terrorist, and then you said the
Zionist
state
terrorists, not
didn't do it.
Israelis.
Zionist terrorists. Okay, but you said the state didn't do it.
No, the state
IDF
did not
didn't
do
go
it.
in there. IDF didn't
Well,
go in there to start a war. IDF didn't go in there
actually,
to
the IDF has multiple cases of going into Gaza and bombing the place. Actually, they have killed multiple before October 7th. And this has been recorded from all the way.
But that's what I'm telling you is that it's in retaliation.
2023.
Oh,
No,
like
no, no.
the
That
Nakba?
isn't.
That what would you
Like-
call October 7th would have been a retaliation, because even before October 7th, they bombed the
That was in retaliation for rockets.
Oh,
No.
That's what I'm
That was
saying.
before October 7th.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is,
He's saying
if you launch
every
rockets
act of
into a
aggression
company-
on Israel's part has been in retaliation to Palestinian aggression. That's what he's
Right.
saying.
that is
Even
patently
before October
false.
7th. So all of
Even before that.
the things I
Like,
think
even
he's
when they
saying
were
all
just
of
protesting?
everything.
protesting's not the same as launching rockets.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. This is the first time Palestinians has ever launched rockets at these guys. Most of the time,
That is
they're just
not true.
protesting.
That's not true. That is not
That
true.
is not
How do
100%
you
not true.
explain the West Bank? How do you explain the occupation of Lebanon,
see
which
here as I'm looking
created
at it.
Hezbollah?
The occupation of Lebanon. When did Israel?
The occupation of Lebanon, which is why Hezbollah was created. What's going on right now in the West Bank, and let's start from the beginning in the 40s with the Nakba. Nobody was
Okay.
attacking them. Matter of fact, the Palestinians were the only ones on the planet that welcomed them with open arms after the United
That is
States
actually
refused to
100%
give them
untrue.
states.
No, that
The
is
United
true. Actually,
Kingdom
there's been
refused
Their
to give
stories.
them
prophet. Then
There's
can you tell me
books.
why the
Bro,
prophet
there's
went
books. There's
to
literally
Hitler?
books of Palestinians people wrote about them letting in Jewish people in, and then
I understand.
getting forced out.
But then why in the early 30s or late 30s and early 40s did their head prophet go to Germany and ask Hitler, how do we exterminate the Jews?
Oh,
So if
you
they
wanna
were so
go to
peaceful-
World War II?
Hold on.
Let's
Because you
do
came on
that.
their land and you kicked them out? I mean,
No.
why else would he ask?
No. That is not accurate. They hadn't even been on the land yet. That's what I'm telling you. They were had
This is
settlements
before
there.
Israel was created as
So
a state.
maybe they didn't
Yes.
want them to come on their land?
No.
Why don't we go back to the Zionists that coordinated with Hitler? Let's start there.
The Zionists, the
Zionists,
Jews?
correct. The Zionists.
Please
I didn't say
point
Jews.
to that. Please
Zionist
point
terrorists,
to that.
not the Jews, not the Jewish state, not Israel
No.
as a people, but
Right.
conveniently Zionist terrorists are always at the center of it before Israel got its foothold.
Right. And
This
how
is
about
where
the 30 to 60 million Christians that were also murdered under the Bolsheviks, which were also Jewish Zionists or so-called Jewish?
the Bolsheviks
definite
are not
Zionists.
Jewish Zionists. They actually were slaughtering Jews and the communists. What are you
Correct. The
talking-
Zionists were slaughtering Jews. Correct.
Okay, so we have to separate Zionist and Jew then, because
Absolutely. That's the whole
they are
Absolutely,
not
point.
the
yes.
same thing.
The
They are
vast
not the same
majority
thing.
of Jews worldwide do not support Israel or Zionism. It goes against the Judaic religion.
That is. See, that's where we're getting crossed. Is I keep hearing Zionists associated with Jews, and I don't think people understand that. I think when they hear Zionist, they automatically go Jew.
Zionists,
and that's
real.
hold on,
And
guys. Just to correct
Israelis.
myself, though, just to correct myself. Yeah, there have been multiple escalations of Hamas firing on Gaza. So you're right, from like 2008, 2009, 2012.
Yeah, it's been a thing.
Right, which was always for a reason, because they're arbitrarily detaining people. Why don't we talk about the 10,000 hostages held in Israeli torture camps, including men, women, and children, very young children that are in military
I understand.
prison. Keep in mind these 10,000 people. Wait a minute. Keep in mind that these 10,000 kidnapped people have no charges against them for any crimes. So anytime you're wondering why Hamas fired a missile across the line, maybe one of their children or wives were kidnapped by the Israelis, or summary execution.
I can understand where that you're going with that, and I understand. I do. But you're talking about people who literally raise their children from birth to want to exterminate people.
The Israelis you're talking about. The Israelis.
No, I'm talking about the Palestinians.
Have you looked and seen them passing out machine guns?
They literally,
if you watch their parades like this, they think about like this.
If you watch,
okay, so are you going with the argument? I'm on just a quick interruption. Are you saying that the Palestinians are just this wide radical group of people that nobody wants to accept?
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
The nicest people I've ever met in my life.
I'm not, and I didn't say they're not.
I'll let him explain.
What I'm saying is that you have to, you gotta, like, literally, they take their children from birth, and if you watch any of their parades, the Hamas parades,
that is not true. Why are you associating the extremists with the whole of the people?
Because that is who runs the country. That is who tells everybody what to do. That is but so you have to understand.
Mean? Wait a minute. Hamas was created by Israel, funded and installed by Israel.
No, they weren't.
To prevent
that was brought about by Yasser Arafat, dude. Come on.
It was actually the proof that Bibi has sent. There is proof, like Israeli
and Bibi absolutely installed, funded, and created Hamas, because Hamas are the biggest terrorists on the planet, and nobody has been more terrorized by Hamas than the Palestinians, which is exactly the point.
To destabilize
prevent
Palestine.
Unity.
The Muslim Brotherhood is where Palestinians,
the West Bank and Gaza, and to combat Yasser Arafat. They were put in there to prevent the two-state solution.
All right, now, John, real quick, John. We got to let my man Frank speak, and let's let him go on this. Let my man get a good 3 minutes in, and they can go ahead and tackle.
Here's the thing: is I think you're the Muslim Brotherhood was out of Egypt. Yasser Arafat wanted to get far more extreme than the Muslim Brotherhood was willing to go. So he branched off out of the Muslim Brotherhood into Palestine, and he was one of the founding members of, what was it? Was it Hamas? Or it was Hamas or God, what's the other one?
Hezbollah?
Sorry, what's that?
Hamas.
Was it Hezbollah?
No, it was not Hezbollah. So anyway, Hamas, is before all that. Yasser Arafat was a Muslim Brotherhood, and they were the biggest extreme terrorist group at the time. Well, Yasser wanted to go beyond that. He wanted to start blowing planes up with kids in it. He wanted to do some like crazy stuff.
Right, but that's not what we're talking about.
What I'm saying is that he split off into Palestine. Then all those factions that were apart and warring with each other started to come together, and that's where like Hamas came out of, and then the other one that was in there, and then that's when Arafat took power. And
Hamas was against Arafat. What are you talking about?
Oh my God, that's what I'm saying. It was a tribes.
I misunderstood. I apologize.
No, what I'm saying is like they're tribes, and this is the whole thing. Is what people don't understand is Palestine is not like this unified group. It never has been. They've been warring amongst each other for centuries.
Well,
And
there are rogue
that's why they had
factions in that. That's
different
true.
they had two different factions. And then Hamas might have been against Arafat, but Arafat had the money and he had the political backing. So Hamas had to go under that wing. And then that's when they came together. And then that's
Hamas
when they
had
got the
to because
ceasefire.
they were paid and created to by Israel. We're not talking
I
about if Arafat was good or bad. We're talking
No,
about
I'm
the
not
fact that
talking about
Hamas
that. What
was
I'm
put
trying to
in
get
there.
you to understand is that the ideology carried over into Hamas, regardless of what they were designed for. It's carried over to them now, and that's what I'm saying. Is it's from birth. They literally dress their sons up as suicide bombers in parades, and they are they.
Right.
It's an honor to have your child.
Right, but wait, I'm not sticking up for Hamas. I'm saying there's a difference between Hamas and Palestinians, and what we are watching is the same thing we've been watching for almost a century. Is the Palestinians being victimized? They're breaking every U.S. law, international law, humanitarian law, Geneva Convention on the daily. They're under complete blockade and starvation.
And that's
I don't
what
know
we
how
did
many
to
Zionists and how
Afghanistan.
many Palestinians you've known. But
No, hold on,
I
guys.
know quite a few.
I know quite a few. I do.
Now hold on.
Okay.
And
I do want to create the subject of this debate though, because you said something pretty interesting, Frank. You said that without Israel, the Middle East would be destabilized, or it would be
absolutely.
That's insanity.
No,
Anybody want to
I
tackle
don't.
that? Or
So let me.
Because okay, so here's my thing with that.
Israel is the biggest destabilizing aspect. They attack all of their neighbors, all preemptively, all the damn time.
Who?
Israel does.
Tell me one time that Israel has offensively struck someone without provocation. Like
Iran.
they didn't go after Iran. They did not
they
go
did.
after
The
Iran.
first time they bombed their consulate over in Syria, or I think Syria.
And why did they bomb them?
Not because they were struck first.
Why did they bomb them?
Because they're genocidal maniacs.
No,
because
dude,
they
that is
want
not
greater
it.
Israel. Because they want
Because
greater Israel.
because you don't is because the dudes who killed all the Olympians were from Iran.
The Olympians.
That's why
what
they
year
bombed
are you
them.
talking about?
I'm talking about the Iran-Israel war.
Yeah,
that's what a lot of that started, because they killed the Olympians.
What year was that?
72.
Right. You're telling me 50 years later they decided to bomb the Iranian consulate to get back at 50 year ago crime?
You're getting me way off base. What I'm saying is that did Iran, after October 7th and Israel invaded Gaza, did Iran not fire rockets and drones, and they were intercepted by American stealth bombers and Iron Dome?
Not until they were attacked first.
No, that is 100% incorrect. No consulate was attacked. No consulate was attacked.
No consulate was attacked
by Israel. No.
I do want to hear from my man Monty. Monty, how do you want to attack that argument of is Israel, huh? Yeah, Monty.
Go for it.
So I personally, I have no horse in this race. I don't think, honestly, everything we're talking about, we're never going to solve this. This has been going on for over 100 years. So it's not a question of who was right, who was wrong. The question is where do we sit today? So where do we sit today? Iran hates the fuck out of us. Why do they hate us? Because we're supporting Israel. Why are we supporting?
The solution is very easy.
Hold on.
Yep.
The solution is not easy because it's not easy.
I could say it in a sentence, but go ahead. This is your time.
So why do we support Israel? Because we have fucking Americans and we align religiously with Israel. That's the only reason we support them. But
that's not true.
That is not correct.
Don't align religiously with them. They think Jesus Christ is boiling in human shit forever.
Oh my goodness.
Well,
you guys just went back and forth for like 10 minutes.
Your thing. Yeah, you got it, man. My bad.
All right. Let's mute you two and go ahead and let Monty cook for a little bit.
So the argument is not who fired the first shot across the bow, who did what. This has been going on longer than any of us have been alive. But the fact of the matter is we're at a point right now where we have three options. We can pick Iran's side, which we're not going to fucking do. We can pick Israel's side, which seems like half the country wants to do, or we could just stay the fuck out of it and let them solve their problems. And the greater man will prevail.
All
And
right.
if it turns out that Iran prevails and Iran is fucking coming after America,
Right. Then that's
what
different.
there's nothing that's going to stop them, or there's nothing that's going to let them prevail in that.
Right. So we don't really have a fear there. But let me just say one sentence how we cure the whole problem. No, just one thing. If we just stop misappropriating our taxes in the tens and hundreds of billions in offensive weapons, not defensive, offensive weapons, that will take away Israel's ability to attack all their neighbors and pursue the greater Israel narrative. So if we just give them defensive weapons and they're not attacking everybody constantly, then I think it would bring peace.
So
All right, guys. Hold on, hold
Leave
on.
it.
Now I
Okay.
do got to get to
I
this.
assume no good faith on the
Hold
part
on,
of the
my bad, guys.
Ayatollah.
My
They're not
bad.
good.
Let me go ahead and get this quick super chat in real quick. Shout out Luke. Roseanne Barr was talking about this on her podcast. The problem is the infiltration of the satanic deep state. Many countries have this problem, pretty much blaming it on radical Islamists. Shout out to my man Galactic. He says, okay, callers, will Israel withdraw to intentionally reconcile? Wait, he says coincide borders if Arab nations guaranteed security. If not, why not?
Right.
And
The
do you agree with
1967 borders.
W2 state solution?
with a two-state
Absolutely.
solution.
Sorry, yeah, two
Either
state
two
solution.
state or one state where they all are equal, because Israel's not even a democracy. No Arab in Israel is even allowed to vote. You can't have an apartheid and a democracy at the same time. The U.S. needs to stop justly creating worldwide enemies, because every enemy that we've created, it was created justly so because we are funding terrorism through Israel. Israel has never stopped misappropriating all of the land in the West Bank, which is theft of a nation. They have never stopped kidnapping people off the street that don't even have charges against them. The Palestinians I know are the kindest people and the most generous people on this planet. Just in this mess since 23, I personally evacuated 26 souls out of pocket. And when I say out of pocket, I mean because you have to pay the Israelis and the Egyptians in order to have an emergency evacuation of a critically injured child. So
Wait, you
what
have to
ends up
pay? Hold
happening?
on. Say,
Yeah.
don't just gloss over that. You like that's worth something. Explain that.
What part?
I know what you're talking about. You're do you work for the Red Cross or Red Crescent?
Actually, I don't. In a nutshell, I try to help out people that are less fortunate because I've traveled a lot. And what it costs for one decent dinner in the U.S., I can support a family of four for a week with the price of one meal. So I was supporting three families in Gaza for years before this mess started.
Mm-hmm.
And I continued supporting them, of course, through the whole war. And we lost a lot of good people that I really, really cared about. And some of their family and friends, which all started with one woman in one of my three families that needed to be evacuated. They got bombed when they were in a tent visiting family. So I had to pay $1,500 to get her evacuated. In doing that, I kind of became friendly with the doctor in the hospital at Gaza. So then, about a week later, there was a young child he sent me a video of that was horribly injured. And he said, I don't know if you can help, but we need to get this kid evacuated. It's $1,500 per adult, $750 per child. But when you evacuate a child, if they have a living parent, one parent can go with them. So I evacuated 26 people in total. Uh, Three of them were part of my families. The other 23 were not. Out of the 26 people I evacuated, 25 survived. The one that died was arguably one of the ones I cared most for, which was in in my 3 families. She was waiting in line to buy apples when, the alleged ceasefire was there. And
So let's just shed some perspective on what he's saying, because
I,
it sounds to me as if Israel is holding people hostage. You have to
correct.
ransom them out of the country.
I,
That is a war crime. That is a war crime.
I
Correct.
think you're. I I can't speak that is wrong. I can't say that is right. I don't know. Who knows who's holding the keys at the Gaza gates? Who
I know
knows who?
because I had to pay them. I had to pay
Yes,
them
yeah,
That's
he knows
directly.
where
I
his
that
can
money's
tell
going.
you
that's
their PayPal's
that
and WhatsApps.
I under that's fine. I get it. But what I'm saying is that I keep hearing Israel, Israel, Israel. Like Israel's doing this, Israel's doing
Right,
that.
but keep in
Like
mind
it's
that they
not.
had a poll on their news station of people to call in and do a poll on if they believe, quote, handcuffed prisoners should be legally allowed to be raped. 49% called in and said yes, that
Okay.
you should be allowed
That's
to. So
disgusting.
we're talking about
And
the
I
people
can
as a
probably
whole.
almost guarantee you during 9/11, if you polled Americans right after the attacks happened, a lot of that would have been doing the same thing. So
Absolutely.
let's not sit
This
But
here.
was
two
wait a
wrongs don't
minute.
make a
Wait a
right.
minute.
I
We know from
understand. I'm not
Guantanamo
saying two
Bay.
wrongs
We
make a
know
right,
from
but let's get off
Guantanamo Bay that
the moral high horse, dude. Like you're sitting here and you just keep saying like Israel's this behemoth, like
they are
monstrous thing. They're
a
not.
monster we created.
Okay, here's the thing. Literally,
Have you seen them spitting on Christians?
have
Have
you
you?
seen them? Have you seen Islamics try to behead Americans? Like
Again, I'm not
we can
talking
do
about
this.
extremists. I'm not
We
talking
can
about
do this
extremists.
back and forth. You're
That's
not.
propaganda. We're
You
not talking
keep
about
see. This is what
extremists.
I'm
I said
saying.
I'm
Is that
talking
every
about
time I come back with
Palestinians.
something, you tell me I'm wrong, and you
No,
tell
I'm
me I'm.
talking about the societies at large, not the extremists. I'm not talking about Smotrich. I'm not talking about the Hamas. I'm talking about Palestinians and Zionists,
I just want to get
Okay,
the hell
Israelis.
out of there.
so let's go here right quick. Just hear
Like
me out.
let me just say in
It,
Guantanamo Bay, you mentioned 9/11. In Guantanamo Bay, when we had some military that got out of line and we're taking those pictures, which are war crimes and disgusting, the American public did not storm the jails in
that
a
was actually in
violent
Iraq.
mob to get them released. We did
Abu
not
That
Ghraib.
have
was actually in
polls
Iraq.
saying, wait a
That was
minute,
Abu Ghraib.
you said that if it happened during 9/11, I'm answering that. During 9/11, we had the Guantanamo Bay incident. There was nobody supported that in this country. We all called for prosecution against them because
Are
That
you
we
is
ta-
do
not
not
true.
believe that.
Are you talking
That is
about
not
Abu Ghraib
true.
in Iraq,
The
where they
Guantanamo
pissed
Bay
on?
with the pictures, they were
No, that
waterboarding
was
them.
Abu
And
Ghraib. That
That
was
oh,
was.
not
okay,
Guantanamo.
it was. I'm sorry, Abu Ghraib.
I think.
Yeah,
So
my
Yeah.
bad, my bad.
here's
Keep
my
going.
thing: is that can I just want to say one thing, and then I'm gonna let you guys have it. I mean, I'm not trying to be. I don't want to like get
Oh no,
into
you're
this
good, man,
thing
bro.
where.
Bro, go ahead and
Yeah,
cook.
you're
I want
good.
to get your full opinion, dog. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
So
Me too.
there's been multiple chances. There were multiple times that the people of Gaza could have left, and
Plenty.
Hamas kept them there.
Right. Hamas are terrorists.
That's what I'm saying. But like
Agreed.
but you
Installed by
can't.
the Israelis, funded by the Israelis. It's all over the
That's what I'm
news.
saying is you keep going back to that. You keep going back to Israel did this. Israel's the one.
They
Israel
did.
made all this happen. See, that's
Hamas
the thing
wouldn't
is
exist.
you're not looking at it from their eyes. 6.5 million of them were exterminated, and now you
That's a
have people that
lie.
are
That's a
surrounded.
lie. That's been
Tell me
retracted,
that's
and
The
a lie.
Holocaust
You're
is a
telling
they
lie.
lowered the
okay.
number to one
Wait,
million.
wait,
At the
wait.
Holocaust Memorial, I
So
believe in
you're going to
Poland.
tell me my great grandfather and grandmother didn't die in the death camps? You're going
That's
to tell me
not what
that,
I
right?
said. That's not what
But
I
you're
said. In
telling me that
my
6.5 million people didn't die.
It was 1 million, and I'm telling you that the Holocaust Memorial site that had 6 million revised their number rather recently, within the last half dozen months or so that I found out. It might have been a little bit prior to that, but they revised the number to 1 million. So
You know what
Here's the thing.
the number I agree with? The hundreds of tons of just pairs of shoes from the Holocaust. So
right, but
Yeah,
I watched a
forty
story on that.
thousand
Wait,
people a day.
I watched a story
40,000.
on that.
Now,
Listen
guys,
to
hold on,
what
hold on.
they uncovered.
Before we double team, bro, on this one, I kind of want to hear his full explanation on this.
All right,
yeah.
all right,
Like
Go ahead.
you
that's fair.
you're talking about sick. Okay, that may be your opinion and that may be what you've heard, but I'm telling you from a family experience that my great grandmother and grandfather died in the death camps. Like I have
Absolutely.
And Frank,
family that
trust me.
have numbers on their arms. I'm not fully Jewish,
Right,
and
I
that's
don't
not where
deny
I'm
that.
going.
And Frank, I get
What
it, but like, try
what
to
I'm
listen
saying
to
is
this.
that you have a group of people who literally were trying to be exterminated from the face of the earth. The British gave them this land for them to be peacefully settled at. And
Right,
that
and they
wasn't
didn't
like
know.
the Jews just walked in there and said, hey, we're taking it. No, the British did that. The British are who cordoned it off and said, here, this is yours. This is where you're going to stay. We don't want you in our country. And
But
so
all
that's
right,
where they went. Now you
now,
have
Frank.
them surrounded by people who want to do what? Exterminate them.
Well,
Now I'm gonna
wait
Now
a
hear you
minute.
out
you
on
got
that,
That's not how it happened.
Frank.
The UN
I
gave
do need to
them.
hear why he believes that the Holocaust. Like I said, I've really only heard this on TV. I never heard
I've heard
anybody
this,
explain
and
it.
it's. I'm not saying he is, but a lot of this comes from the white extremist side. That it's
Well,
all
wait a
just a
minute. This
myth,
was a damn
and that
documentary. This
I
isn't.
I mean,
understand
I
what
can
you're
give you a
saying.
Well,
documentary on
let me tell
anything.
you what I saw on it, because it was crazy interesting. And just so you know, I'm not denying that a whole bunch of Jews didn't die in World War II. My uncle was on the front line that freed the Dachau
Yeah.
concentration camp. So I heard from him of he was the very first boots on the ground. He opened the cells to let the prisoners out, to let the Jews out. And he was ordered not to share the food with them because you can't give them too much food too quick. And they disobeyed the orders and gave all their rations. And after they ate,
Yeah.
they all ganged up and killed all the guards. Like, I know stuff about it. So I'm not saying that that didn't happen, but the documentary I saw focused on one of the memorials on one of these concentration camps, and it had a bronze plaque on the wall that they actually didn't change at the time I saw the show, but it said 6 million Jews were executed. And that number, they said, was actually 1 million, which is absolutely a million too many. The show also brought in forensic specialists that focused on the gas chambers, that the gas chambers were by and large not widespread. If there were any, it was a one-off, and that was actually propaganda. And they cited sources that came out of Russia that created the story, and then it showed newspapers from years before, a year or two before, saying that there were 6 million Jews, period, like in the world or in Europe or wherever it was. And
Hmm.
then the war comes, and they're saying 6 million were executed, so that would leave zero. So they were saying no. Then they brought forensics teams into these gas chambers, and this was crazy interesting. They showed that, I can't remember the chemical they were using in the gas, but it leaves a stain on the walls. It was like a blue color, and that is the residue from the gas. So they went into certain places that they said they were using as gas chambers, and all the walls and all the surfaces tested negative. Then they went to a gas chamber that was used for delicing, and the delicing chambers all had this blue stain, not only on the inside of the walls, but you could see it on the outside of the walls too. I don't know how that works physics wise, but it was there. I saw it. But was really dark on the inside, and there was no mistaking it. It covered these walls with this weird blue color. And they would take scrapes off it and test it, and it came back as that chemical. They say that the piles of shoes, the piles of clothes, and the piles of hair were because there were huge, huge lice infestations. And they also had a problem with something else of that sort. And what was common and procedure was when they came in, they had to give up their clothes, they had to shave their heads because they were infested. Then they would go into these huge, like, communal shower rooms, and there was a mix of this gas that, I guess, in a liquid form mixed with water, kills lice. And people were claiming, which was supposedly propaganda that came out of the Ashkenazis in Russia, that it was used in its pure form as an execution gas. Now, those are the installations they went to and tested the walls. And the walls were negative for that substance. The only place they found it positive was in a diluted place where they had in their records, the Germans, that they were using for delicing. They also say that the majority of them actually starved to death because when their logistics lines collapsed, and of course there were bad factions in there that just outright raped and executed people and everything else. Again, there's extremists in every group, maybe more so in Germany. But I don't know if anybody's ever listened to Hitler's translated recordings via AI, but I listened to my first one about 6 months ago, and it struck me like, why haven't we ever heard this? And what he was saying, Hitler, now keep in mind, he had syphilis and went literally insane near the end of his life. So I'm not sticking up for him either. But when he was sane and when this started, those speeches where he's like screaming like a madman, what he was actually saying is, we allowed the Jews to come in here, we gave them a safe, prosperous place, and how did they repay us? He said they fill our libraries and our streets with gay and trans filth. He said the Talmud is filth. He ordered the burning of all gay, trans, and Talmuds, which was the book burnings, which they never told us in school that those are the books they were burning. He said, and how did we get repaid? He says, not only with that filth, he says, but they bought up every news media station and coordinate every news media station in the country to push out their propaganda intentionally to divide our citizens, that they've taken over the banks and their version of, Wall Street and banking, and that they impose taxes, and they didn't have taxes like that before. So, not for nothing, when Hitler came to power, you know, Germany was a poor, starving, like, third world country, and he turned it around to where people had free education, free health care. They were doing great. Europe pressured Germany to take in these Jews because, frankly, they didn't want them. Just like after World War II, the Jews asked for land there to make their Jewish state. And the UK and a lot of European countries denied it. They asked for two states in the United States. The US denied it. And what did Britain do? This is exactly why Americans stand with Palestine, because American patriots are the resistance that seized this country. And it was all started from British oppression, just like the Palestinian situations began from British oppression. They are the resistance fighting for liberty, peace, and freedom, the same as we did not so long ago. There is no excuse for oppression. Any oppressed people will fight back eventually. You can't kill somebody's wife and son and expect them to not go radical on you. We call it postal here. If you're Middle Eastern, they call it terrorism. Either way, it's neither terror, it's humanism. Any human being, if that violations happen to your family, you are going to take up arms against them. If you're a dog in an alley and you get beat enough times, after you've pissed on yourself a million times, at some point you're going to turn and snap back. You cannot fault a people for resisting violent, brutal oppression. So, as far as the World War II goes, I don't know why nobody talks about the 30 to 60 million Christians that had Zionist influence and control back then, because the Soviet Union was ruled by them at that time, that that was certainly a Holocaust, whether it be 1 million or 6 million Jews. We're talking about tenfold that amount that they were
Yeah.
responsible for
Can
prior.
I?
And it
Yeah,
never
go ahead
Can
and
I?
gets better.
interject. All right, now,
Go
Okay.
ahead.
all right, we go ahead and let Frank
All
attack
right.
Go
that
ahead.
one.
So there's a few things I want to like. Um, that
Cool.
maybe that million was just for that camp. Like nobody
Well, it
knows
was
it
a
fully.
revision from 6
Is
million,
is
so I don't know
is
what.
the statistics that have shown and that I have just read about over 16 million Jews were alive in the world at that time. 9.5 million resided in Europe.
Right.
That was
Then it's got to be
60%
the
of the
whole thing.
population. That was 60% of the population of Jews was 9.5 million in Europe. So the number is totally obtainable. What I'm saying is that, and what kind of is scary, and I'm not saying anything directly about your character, but it was lightweight, like you were almost like giving Hitler props in a sense because he was fighting the
No,
Jewish bug.
I'm drawing parallels between the situation. What I'm showing is a pattern of the way these converted Jews, which not for
But
nothing,
that
they're
you just said that
Ashkenazi.
like they were bringing in
No, I
transgender.
didn't say that. I was translating the speech from Hitler.
That's what I'm
And I'm
saying.
drawing the parallel. Well, that's what he said. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm drawing the parallel that not for nothing. That do you know what
But
adrenochrome
oh,
is? Do you
can
know?
I interject? Can I
Yeah,
interject real quick?
yeah. Go for it.
Because
I can't.
I'm hearing some of the same things. You parroted what Hitler said and did not offer any rebuttal to it. You just it sounds like what you read or what you heard has made an influence on the way you're taking this right now.
Oh no, let me clarify. Thanks for
Well,
pointing that
like
out.
what
I
here.
can
Let me.
see
I
why
just got to
you.
say something. And I got to get to bed.
All right.
Like,
Yeah, I do
and
too.
it's really it makes me scared
Let me just
that
clarify that because that's
no. Let me. I
absolutely
just got
not.
to say this, and I got to
Go ahead.
go. So what I'm saying is that it's scary to hear how we're looking at a people who have been literally uh, to the brink of extermination have we're talking generations upon generations of people and have literally had to been chased around by the Egyptians in the godly
And
times.
now
And
they're the exterminators.
no,
That's the
that
whole
see,
point.
you keep doing that, dude, and it's
It's
not
an
okay.
apartheid country.
They are
They're
not,
taking
dude.
they're taking West Bank land. It's been
Oh my
proven in the
God.
ICJ, the
Look,
International
I
Criminal
appreciate
Court,
it,
and
and I
the
know you
ICC.
have a stake in this game, and
It's the
that's what I'm saying. Is that
1967 borders. They
All right,
weren't
hold on
given
now. Hold
every.
on now. All right, John, we do got to let Franks finish. All right, now
all
go
I'm
ahead.
saying is it's scary when you have a people that have literally their whole being, their whole time on this earth, tried to be eliminated. And that's the truth. They were enslaved by the Egyptians. The Romans took them and all that. Like I don't like everybody's screaming Palestine, Palestine. What about them? And it's like, dude, what about the Jews too? Like, what about what they've been through? You wouldn't be a little gun shy when somebody says, I want to kill you. I want to kill every one of you. I'd want to fight too. No, you're not going to kill me. I lost generations of my family because people wanted to do that. It's not going to happen again. On October 7th, that was the greatest loss of Jewish life since the Holocaust. Like the primordial fears and anger that brought out of people. Like it's not just this simple thing as like or Israel created this for themselves. Like I don't think they woke up that day on their third holiest day in their religion and said, I want to see 1,700 of my people murdered because that's what I want. So I can go do this. Like that's insane. Like I just don't understand like how everybody who used to like sit here and read history and be like, damn, they really like to try to like stamp these people out. And now we're sitting here and telling everybody how they're monsters and they're horrible people and that all they want to do is take over everything. And it sounds a lot like Nazi Germany. Like they're just bankers that
Yeah.
want to take your money. And that's scary, dude. Like, and the funny thing is like all these white extremists and the neo-Nazis are sitting back licking their chops right now because the Jews are in everybody's crosshairs. And that's scary for me. Like, and people don't even realize it. Like, all these people who are gay are talking about they support Hamas and they support all, they'll throw them off the top of a goddamn building and watch them die. Like, it's not this just like easy thing to get around for everybody. I get it. And like, you have people that you care about. I have people I care about. But it doesn't mean that like it's okay for them to go into a country and murder women and children, just like you're saying it's not okay for them to take children and put them in prisons. So like, that's what I'm saying is like it's all converged on the Jews again, and that really scares me. Like, why are we doing this again? Like, why are we going back to 1938? It's almost like the Nazis are behind the scenes pulling strings, like literally. Like, this is a neo-Nazi's wet dream that's going on.
He's not
That's
wrong.
You
crazy.
can't separate extremists from the population. That's the
But
problem.
when you don't acknowledge, hold on, when you don't acknowledge extremists, they take out the population.
That's
Well,
the thing.
they make a big mess. I don't know if they
All right,
take
guys,
out
hold
the
on now, real quick.
All
population.
right, you
Shout
guys.
out to
Hey,
my
I
man
appreciate
Luke.
your talk and
Oh,
all
yeah.
that, dude. Thank you for having me on your channel tonight, dude. I really like it. I'm always on here, and I like what you guys got to say. Man, I love and respect you, bro. Take it easy. And hey,
Man,
you
you
guys,
too,
your
Frank.
opinions
Appreciate
and the discussion was great, and I respect them. Just so you know that I don't hold no ill wills. Just it's good to have a debate or discussion without having to throw insults or
It
that
is.
I can see it from your point of view too. You know what I
This is
mean?
the
And
way it should
that's
all be
democracy.
handled.
So,
Absolutely.
all right, you guys have a good night.
All
All
right.
right, man. You too. All right, man. That was a good one. And well, I mean, John, did you want to respond to some of that?
Yeah, I just want to say, let me just back up and set the record straight on a few things. As far as the Hitler quote that I was talking about, which was part of the documentary, it wasn't my personal beliefs or anything. But that being said, like I said, I don't agree with the stuff Hitler did. I do understand that some of it may have been exaggerated, and that obviously, like every single war in the history of humankind, has always had propaganda because history is usually written by the winners. So there's always a skew. That doesn't mean that it didn't happen, but certain parts of it may be embellished. And as far as what Hitler was saying, I can say that we see many of these parallels in the US today. And I felt that some of Hitler's talking points, not his actions to handle it, but some of his talking points are very similar to the United States in 2025. Let's take it apart. The Israeli Jews, the Zionist Jews, own all of the Western media. That's why they all parrot each other. That's why the studies that I read one day before yesterday that Israeli victims of the war are mentioned 33-fold more than Palestinians. That when they talk about an Israeli getting killed, it's terrorism or whatever. And when they talk about a Palestinian, it's called collateral damage or something like that. So it's just a fact that Zionists own and control the Western media. So that was something that Hitler mentioned. So I see that parallel. He also mentioned about them controlling the banking system and introducing usury, which
Ooh.
is basically interest that we've become so accustomed to we don't even see it anymore. And the fact is, for example, the United States Federal Reserve is not federal, nor is it a reserve. It is not controlled in the least by our government. It is
Nope.
privately owned. By
Privately
who?
owned. Yeah.
By Zionists. Sorry?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, you're
I'm
right.
agreeing with you. Yeah.
Right. So all central banks on the planet are all owned by Zionist entities. They have in a lot of their writings in the Zionist books and stuff that were written up to 100 years ago and more, that the way you conquer a nation is by creating division and controlling their currency and putting them in debt. And it talks about how they can conquer a nation without firing a shot, without having an army. And they also control all of Hollywood. And they absolutely encourage, you have to keep in mind that where did they come from? It says, I believe it was 800, 700, 800. I think it was I don't know if it was AD or BC, that the Ashkenazis were in Khazaria, which is where Ukraine is now, and they were, I believe, I know it was near half Mongolian. I believe the other half may have been Turkish, but they were known as a Mongolian clan, so to speak. But they had a huge landmass, which is basically what Russia is today. So it was the biggest country on the planet at the time. And they were satanic worshippers. They worshipped Baal, Baal, and Moloch, Moloch. I'm not sure how you say it. I just learned from reading.
Yeah, Malak. Yeah, Malak.
Moloch, okay. And his pagan symbol is the Star of David. That just happens to be the Rothschild family crest. The Zionism was created by the Rothschilds, and you can go and see the letter that was handwritten from the senior father of the Rothschild family to the king or whatever over there in the UK around World War II, I think, saying, we want you to give the Zionist Jews a state of their own, and direct communication between the two of them in regard to gifting them Palestine, which again is a territory that they don't own, that they had conquered. They were occupiers. You can't have one occupier give that occupied area to another occupier. That this is ridiculous. It's all twisted and backwards. The fact is that we have seen this huge Jewish influence, because there's no way that us funding them alone while they're blocking our aid, that's a violation of the Leahy laws just by itself. Then we can go into humanitarian law and everything else. But the Leahy law specifically states you cannot aid a country that blocks or hinders American humanitarian aid from going into the war zone, period. So anytime that any politician is breaking U.S. laws of war, the rule of law, Geneva Conventions, humanitarian law, international law, there's no way that all that goes unmentioned and silent in the news unless the news is being controlled. Think about it. We can go and protest Trump if we want, and nothing bad happens. You go out and say something bad about Israel or Zionists, all of a sudden it's anti-Semitism that's been criminalized now. You know who's controlling you by knowing who you cannot criticize.
All right, James. Man. All right, dog, big dog. We're gonna have to. Well, if you do want to stick around, we're gonna have to let you go on this one.
Thanks,
because
brother.
we are about to play this Dan Bilzerian. First
Cool.
is I think his name is Adam King. He works for InfoWars. He's a Jewish guy who works for InfoWars for Alex Jones, going up against Dan Bilzerian. X's favorite anti-Semite.
Right. I look forward to hearing that one.
All right,
Alex
man. Hey,
Jones
man,
is cool.
Appreciate you for coming up. That was a lot that you dropped on us, big dog. I'm definitely gonna have to check some of that out. But
thank you for the space. I appreciate you, brother.
I'm gonna have to go back and like Google this stuff after
Please
the
do.
podcast is over. And just to establish a timeline, because I feel like if we can like draw it out in crayon for people and create a timeline and create things, it's a lot, because this like there's so
I got
many
a
different
couple things.
moving pieces to this.
I got a
Not for
couple things to
nothing.
show you, Monty. Don't worry. I got a couple things to show you. I
We
think it might
could
be a
have
lineup.
peace so easily if they just stop expanding, give the Palestinians some right and freedom, and if we stop flooding them with offensive weapons, then they wouldn't have weapons to wage
So
war. They wouldn't be expanding their borders. Palestinians would have peace. Get friggin' Hamas out of there, and just everybody be normal, for Christ's sakes. Israel just
can I
thinks they can attack every enemy they have. You can't attack every enemy you have. You have to do diplomacy. You have to try to make peace. You can't just blow everybody up.
ask you a question before you go and before we continue?
Sure.
So we've addressed what looks like the problem. What is the solution without, hold on, don't jump yet.
Yeah.
What is the solution without giving a path, because the Jewish people are not going to just accept, oh, just put your arms down. How do you persuade them to stop this and have them have the security in their mind that they're not going to face another Holocaust?
Very, very easy. It's already been presented.
Mhm.
Through the UN, I saw on their feed, there's a group of, I think it's called the Arab Group or something. It's like
Mhm.
15 Arab nations or something. I think they call themselves the Arab Group. They came on, Jesus, months ago, and they said, we
Mhm.
are telling the world right now, I represent these 14 other Arab nations. And if they give the Palestinians the two-state solution and stop their expansion, we will guarantee their security with our military forces, period. We will normalize trade with them, on and on and on. And they were like, now the ball is in your court. And bang, it
Okay.
went right out of the news. Nobody ever talked about it. So I think that it's just as simple that the only problem the Palestinians have is that they're imprisoned. So I think if you just end that, end the hostility of attacking everybody, and will flood them with defensive weapons. So we need to try and see, because what we've been doing doesn't work. And that's the definition of insanity, to keep doing the same thing
Yep.
over and over and expect a
And I
different
and I
result.
agree with you. That's why I'm looking for
So I
outside
think
solutions.
we
But
need to
I even
just freeze the borders, stop providing the offensive weapons, take the Arab group, the 14 Arab countries up on their offer, and
Mhm.
see what happens. Guarantee it with the U.S. Saudis will stand behind it. Like, there's a lot of countries in the immediate area that will guarantee Israel's security. They're willing to step up with their military. So Jesus, let's take them up on it and see what happens.
because I also I'm looking personally, because I'm never going to be in the decision making capability, but I'm trying to walk through this and see how I would solve it. I have a couple of different things, with Iran and their things, and it seems like what we need is a new, not the same old guard that's been doing things for
Right.
70 years. Just a new, what do
Fresh
you
blood.
want? What do you want? And yeah.
Right. And let's do it. Right. Absolutely.
All right. Well, all right, then actually let's go ahead and get on with this video right here. And actually we do have my man Luke. Hey Luke, how you doing? And first let me read out your super chat, because it sounds like it's the Satanists. Well, the Satanists, not the Jews. And shout out to Parabolic Curvature. He came in. He says supporting Jewish people who were oppressed throughout history isn't the same as supporting Israel, the Israeli government, we need to distinguish these things. All right. I mean, shout out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, even in the Bible, like Ezekiel, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
We got you.
Yeah. So Ezekiel was shown a crack in the foundation, and God was revealing this underground tunnel system that they had, where they were worshiping false gods and all kinds of creeping things. And that was one example. And then there's David's advice to his son Solomon was, do not join with the group that says throw your money in the same pot and we'll conquer the world together or whatever.
Mm.
And so all the way back to David, Ezekiel, Solomon, all that. And then Jesus said that there was a synagogue of Satan in the in the time that he was. And he said that, like he railed on the religious leaders. So it makes me think that like the religious leaders, even back then, so there was just this long drawn out infiltration of religions, different groups. I imagine even the Pope, there was a time where the Pope was actually kidnapped. And so like, it sounds like they could have infiltrated the Catholic Church at that moment. The Masons, and Rosen talked kind of.
No, look, I kind of get what you're getting into here, because it does seem like there may be like a satanic set that infiltrates these our major religions.
Yeah.
And Hollywood.
And
And
they're
Hollywood.
causing chaos, and they want us to kill each other.
True.
You know, that's their service.
Absolutely, not for nothing. I have some videos up on my X account where it shows some Israelis. This guy's preaching. I don't know if he's a rabbi, but he like sounds like a evangelical type preacher. And he was saying it's written in our books. You cannot let the Christians and Muslims become friends with each other. If they join forces, it would be, you know, the end of the Jewish reign, which he was referencing that they're supposed to be the masters of the planet, and each uh, Israeli is supposed to have 2,800 goyim slaves per person. And he was saying if the Christians and the Muslims ever became friends, like our prophecy of controlling the world and having the slaves and everything would be destroyed, and that what they need to do is they need to go all out and make sure that Christians and Muslims stay at war. I actually reposted this yesterday on my X account.
Okay.
So I absolutely believe that there is definitely a satanic force that is very wealthy, has crept itself. I mean, we know the Rothschilds are crazy satanic. We know they're the most wealthy family. They were valued at over 500 trillion, and that
And can
was
I add
quite a
one
while
thing?
ago. And
Can
they're
I add?
very satanic. Go ahead.
So there's two different worldviews. The Bible teaches that the worldview is that God was a benevolent creator. Okay,
That he was what?
a
Sorry.
benevolent creator. He
Okay.
loves us.
Right.
The Assyrians taught, and this goes way back, even to a couple sons after Noah. But the Assyrians taught that God was a slave master, and that Enki, Satan, was a trickster that tried freeing us. So there's two
Right. That's why they
world
call
views.
Lucifer the Lord of Light. I'm
Yeah.
following you. Yes.
And so there's two world views.
Right. There is.
The Syrian one is taught in the universities because they tend to be anti, you know, they don't believe the Bible is legitimate, you know, a lot of stuff.
Really, my doctor's Syrian and he's Catholic, so I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, and it might not be like it's kind of like the Masons, the people at the top know, but
Right.
yeah. So, but there are
Or the Democratic Party.
Yeah, there are two world views, and it seems like all the stuff around transhumanism and human slavery and nations being pitted against each other, it seems like all that is their tactics that Satan uses.
Agreed.
And the opposite is that you know, let's reason with each other. You know, God is good. You know, God isn't a slave master. Yeah, and he set the people of Israel free in the time of Pharaoh.
Right, but
And
today's Israelis are not the Israelites from the Bible.
right. No, they're not, and
Right.
they're probably controlled like America is from
Right.
the satanic group. Now, they don't admit that they're Satanists because to them, lying is like a thing that they practice.
Right.
It's
It's
like
not a sin to them.
it's a
Exactly.
gift. It's a gift. Yeah.
Silver tongues.
Yeah. And, you know, a lot of secret groups have been infiltrated by these guys, and now they control a large group of the things that started off good. Like the Masons weren't, like, I think back when our founding fathers were in the Masons, it wasn't as bad, you know. And I think the Jewish people,
Well,
like,
aren't the
it was,
Masons the opposite of the Illuminati? Aren't they adversaries?
Well, I think the Illuminati is a faction, and the only reason why we know about the Illuminati was because the messenger got struck by lightning that was carrying all the papers talking about it, and they preach order out of chaos. So, the Illuminati believe that you make government strong and then you collapse them, and then the people that have everything
Become the
live as
rulers.
gods.
Right.
They live as gods.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Well,
and they're
they-
deathly afraid of dying, so they're trying to
that's
merge
funny.
machine.
That's just where I was going next. Not for
Yeah.
nothing. Not that I expected to mention this at all, but I'll throw it in real quick. You can let me know if you're interested. A
Okay.
few years back, I was struck by a drunk driver on my way home, and they found my corpse on the highway. They obviously resuscitated me. I spent the next several weeks in unresponsive coma on life support. Now, I had an experience after I was hit, and I can say from experience that I don't think any religion has it right. I believe the word of God is only corrupted by that of man. I believe that it's very simple, much more simple than a lot of religions make it out to be. But I can tell you that I fought with everything in me just for one last breath, hoping that someone would come. It was 1:47 a.m. at impact. I was about 80 miles an hour on cruise control, and I rolled my convertible. Of course, I was clipped on the front quarter, which put me into the Jersey barrier. But
Man, God,
the moment my body died, I I was instantly someplace else. Instantly. And I was on a darkened highway. So I looked into some of this later on after the accident, and I heard like some doctors say, "Oh, the light they see are the lights that we're putting on them to, in the hospital." But I was on a darkened highway; there weren't even street lights on it, so I know that couldn't have been the case for me. And I was on no drugs of any kind, no anesthesias, nothing like that, and I was sober driving. So you can't attribute what happened to me to anything like that, like they've attributed NDEs to before.
Right on.
And I didn't see a tunnel, but wherever I was, there was light everywhere. It had no source, it cast no shadows, and it wasn't a normal light. It was ridiculously brilliant, but not harsh. It didn't hurt you to look at it at all. And it was it was conscious. The light was conscious, and I instantly had overwhelming, and when I say overwhelming, I never knew what that word meant until this, absolutely overwhelming feelings of being loved, like being a beloved ant in the hand of a giant. It was a very eye-opening
Wait, say that again.
experience.
Say that
Okay.
again. You felt like what?
An ant, ant, like the bug, the ant, like an
Okay.
ant in the hand of a giant. Like it was raw power.
So you
It
felt
was.
love and power?
I felt the power around me, and like there were some things that were crazy different. Like number one, we're in a way all omniscient because I never spoke aloud. Yet after some amount of time, which time doesn't exist there, and I understood it much more after it happened, my grandfather appeared to me, and we took care of him to his last days. And from the moment he
Hold on,
appeared,
hold on. All right, guys. Hold on, guys. Let's make sure because
right.
man, I got my bad, man. I got too
I don't
caught
want to
up in
go
the story. I'm
sideways
supposed to
on you.
play the
Right.
video.
Sorry. Go
Sorry.
ahead.
But all right, guys, let's go ahead and continue with the video, man. That was honestly a great conversation, guys. I'm not even gonna lie. I
Yeah,
got
good
too
talking with
dragged
you. Good talking with you,
Absolutely.
John.
People should stop using religion for war. That was my only point. I think
Exactly.
All right. Perfect.
people have got it twisted. But
All right.
thank you.
All right, man. Appreciate you landing the plane on that one, man. Shout out to my man John, and shout out to Luke and Monty, man. Appreciate you guys. But let's continue with this wild conversation. I know this conversation kind of like broke the internet. Let's hear it.
You said it's a half Jew. Yeah, the wrong side.
You don't have AC in here or what?
Oh, this is where men are. You know, this is something only men can do. I think this is where Jake and I really connected in the beginning of this whole parlay was, you know, let's be respectful. Let's let each other talk. Let's have a serious conversation that we don't spurg or scream over each other or get into these.
Oh, and shout out to Hellbite. He said God is great, beer is good, and people are crazy. I mean, hey man, shout out Hellbat.
Stupid internet things that need
Billy
moderators.
Carrington.
Let's be men and talk about things, allow each other to speak, and hopefully evolve and grow and change things.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that, you know, I was listening to this nonsense interview, and you said that the Nazis were gassing Jews in VW.
In the beginning, yeah.
It's not true.
Okay, let's go, man.
Do you know who invented the mobile gas chamber?
Tell me.
Isaiah Berg. And it was a Soviet Jew, and it was before World War II started. And he was gassing Christians in his car. Look it up.
Yes, Nazis did use carbon monoxide gas from car engines
Not
to murder
Nazis.
people.
This is in the Soviet Union.
And it included the use of sealed vans and trucks, some of which may have used engines similar to those.
Who invented the mobile gas chamber? Right there.
You're saying Isaiah Berg.
Yep. Prior
mobile
to World
gas
War II.
chamber.
Yeah,
okay, hold on. Where was the mobile gas chamber used? That's
Russia.
1937.
Okay, yeah, Russia. Prior to World War II.
Yeah, but it just says right here.
Jews killing Christians.
We're talking about specifically about the Holocaust. I know you like to talk about this Jews killing Christians
because that
this,
happened.
This whole what's it called? The
Bolshevik genocide.
The Bolshevik genocide. They also killed Jews too.
No, they didn't.
They did. They killed real.